What is the most underrated skill that everyone should learn? Story 1. Letting quiet exist. Not just in general, but when interacting with someone, sharing a meal, cuddling, and so on. You don't have to fill silence with conversation, though if silence makes you uncomfortable, you might feel more at ease turning on some background noise like music or a podcast or something if you can. Being quiet doesn't mean you're weird or that the situation is awkward by default. Lags in conversation can be the result of and useful for processing the other person's perspective, suggestions, and logic. It also frees up a little mental space for considering the best way to respond to someone, especially if you feel a need to be particularly respectful or gentle. Speaking for myself, quiet is the best part of a relationship. If I'm not talking to my partner, I'm just enjoying having them near me. I'm looking at their eyes or body language, feeling them breathe, listening to their heartbeat, or just being content in their presence. That person is enough for me. I don't feel the need to prevent silence. Story 2. How to have constructive conflict with people. We've developed into such a conflict-avoidant culture that even the slightest bit of direct communication is seen as aggressive. Simple acts of kindly but directly advocating for myself in the workplace has had me labeled as insubordinate. So many of us talk about wanting to get back to a different way of being in community with others. A huge part of being genuinely close with people is being able to have healthy conflict and grow from it. Story 3. Problem solving. People might say it's not an underrated skill, but what most people are taught as problem solving is to regurgitate solutions from a listed manual until one works. If nothing works, they escalate up the expert ladder until someone finds the right manual with the right steps that handles the problem. Real problem solving requires seeing a problem and thinking logically through it, while plugging gaps in your knowledge until you reach the solution. If you master this ability, you'll seem like a wizard who knows the darkest of arts, and people will pay you handsomely for your skills. Plus, you'll save yourself a ton of money because problem solvers, especially good ones, can figure out how to do simple things like some home or vehicle repairs, even if no one has shown them how to do it. People who can't problem solve have been shown the right way to fix something and extend that knowledge even into places it doesn't belong. In my experience too, the best problem solvers will realize when a project is far beyond their abilities and call a professional, whereas people who don't know how to problem solve will make a mess, then hire a professional to clean it up. Story 4. Spatial awareness. Knowing what's going on around you and being aware of what you're doing as you move through public spaces. Put your phone down when you're crossing the street. Listen to the things going on around you. Do you hear someone walking behind you on a busy sidewalk? Move the fuck out of the way. Are you in the middle of the aisle at the grocery store, completely oblivious to the person behind you trying to get around you? Stop that shit. Are you standing way too close to the person in front of you in line? Back up a step or two. Story 5. The most underrated skill everyone should learn is active listening. In a world where communication is key, being able to truly listen to others can make a significant difference. Active listening not only improves our personal and professional relationships, but also helps us resolve conflicts, foster empathy, and better understand situations and different perspectives. Often, we are so focused on preparing our response that we forget to pay attention to what is actually being said. Mastering this skill can transform our interactions and lead to more positive and effective outcomes in all aspects of life. Story 6. First aid. Obviously, it is useful in itself, although you hope never to have to use it. But I found also gives a sense of confidence and adaptability, that you feel more prepared to take on any situation. Somewhat related, develop and be able to use your command voice. The loud, authoritative one that you would use to say, "I need help over here," or "You, dial 911 inches or stop" when someone is about to do something and hasn't spotted a danger. Cabin crew, flight attendants, get specifically trained on this, and even the most quietly spoken, nice person has a command voice they can pull out in situations like brace, brace, brace. I suggest finding a place you can't be overheard. In a parked car away from other people can be a good place, and practice hearing yourself use this voice. Story 7. I can't just do one, sorry. How to cook. Excel spreadsheets. Driving a manual. How to do an oil change unless you got one of those plug-in things, then learn how to clean and connect corroded battery connectors. There, I saved you $20,000 on a EV or hybrid battery replacement. How to tie knots. CPR. Okay, you don't need to learn a programming language like it's a career, but pick one and learn enough to fix syntax errors, and generate your own code with AI to solve problems. You'll save yourself a lot of headaches versus having to get ads or give up your personal information to some shady developer for a free app. Manual photography? It's not as hard as they want you to think. It opens up a lot of opportunities to capture memories you might otherwise miss using the automatic settings even with smartphones. How to use a compass and map. Finding someone using a radio and only a landmark, for example. It could save you or a loved one's life while exploring places you might not have fancy electronics with Google Maps to guide you. Hand signals. Morse code isn't as prevalent, but just learning how to SOS is useful. If Channel 16 is clogged full of drunks trying to meet up and fight each other over improper use of the emergency channel. How to fix a bike. How to wire basic circuits like 12V/24V off a battery and your common 120V household light fixture. Anybody can change a light bulb. Lighting a cigarette in prison requires a basic understanding of how electrical circuits work. Story 8, meditation. Once you get it down, the peace you gain is priceless. Everyone can learn. Even people that say they can't because their mind races too much. That's why we learn to meditate. It took me a while to get there, but the first time I did find myself in a meditative state, through lots of practice, the peace and calmness I felt is indescribable. Story 9. Reading. It's incredibly concerning how widespread illiteracy is in a literate world. And I don't just mean the recent statistics on how Gen Alpha is less literate than prior generations. There are so many TikToks of people who are teaching themselves to read in their 30s or older. Some people keep control over other people by not teaching them how to read, like some abusive parents. So many teachers will keep passing students who can't read clear through high school because they don't want to have to be accountable. And this is just in the US. Story 10. The most underrated skill in my life experience has been learning how to talk to people in a way they don't get defensive or offended. It's highly underrated. I read books and asked some people who had this skill to help me in life when I rose in my career, originally for my career and those I was supervising, but now I use it in all facets of life where I interact with people. Quick example. When approaching people where I want or need something, instead of using sayings like, I need you to, which sounds like a command, I use, would you be willing to, which implies a choice for the person I'm talking to, and they are less likely to put up a wall. You may not be liked by certain people, but you can still be respected, all by using your words wisely. And it can diffuse situations a lot more when emotional stakes are high. And it can't be sales speak or have an agenda behind the way you say it. It must be genuine, and yes, people can tell. Story 11. Sewing. Most people these days don't know how to patch a tear or sew on a button, myself included. Luckily, I have people in my family who can do it for me, but I'm going to learn because what a waste it would be to have to toss out something every time it got ruined. Plus, imagine a wardrobe malfunction during an event and not being able to quickly whip out a sewing kit and correct it. Story 12. Sign language. Not only because there is a probability that you will encounter a deaf and/or mute person with whom you have to interact, but it is useful for many situations. For example, I saw a video of a man who was buying ice cream, and since there was a lot people and noise with sign language, he asked his girlfriend who was far away what flavor she wanted, and she answered him in signs. It would have been useless to shout or call her because there was too much noise. Story 13. Climbing ropes. Most people consider climbing ropes a very physically demanding task, but it's mostly because they don't know how to do it correctly. Most people default to clenching the rope between the bottoms of their feet. This puts immense strain on your legs and is very inefficient and tiring. There are several better ways to climb ropes, but the easiest is to wrap the rope around one leg once and then hold the rope to the top of the wrapped foot with your other foot. It's hard to describe, so just look up standard aerial climb if you're confused. Climbing ropes is actually fairly easy with this method and does not require much strength, so this is a very useful life skill. Story 14. Accepting honest criticism and learning from it, not immediately interpreting someone else telling you that you're wrong as a personal attack or vendetta against you, realizing that you can do better, and then taking steps to do that. I'm a pilot, and I've spent years being told how I could have done this landing better, or that I need to study a little harder, or what have you in debriefs after a flight. It's changed my mode of thinking, and it's made me a better person, let alone a better pilot. Story 15. Resting. People rest incorrectly. They can be tired after weekend or holiday more than they were before. Resting need balance and planning. Depending what you are doing every day at work, Each of us needs something different. Watching TV or Netflix entire weekend is not the way. Story 16. One of the most underrated skills that everyone should learn is active listening. Active listening goes beyond simply hearing words. It involves fully engaging with the speaker, understanding their message, and responding thoughtfully. Here's why it's so valuable. Improves relationships. Active listening fosters stronger personal and professional relationships by making others feel heard and valued. Enhances communication. It reduces misunderstandings and ensures clearer, more effective communication. Builds empathy. By truly listening, you can better understand others' perspectives and emotions, leading to greater empathy and compassion. Boosts problem solving. It helps in gathering more accurate information, which is crucial for effective problem solving and decision making. Increases patience and focus. Practicing active listening improves your ability to concentrate and be patient, both of which are beneficial in various aspects of life. Promotes personal growth. It encourages self-awareness and reflection, leading to personal and emotional growth. Developing active listening skills can profoundly impact your interactions and overall quality of life, making it an invaluable yet often overlooked skill. Story 17:1. How to use a fire extinguisher. That thing runs out pretty fast. Gotta swipe at the bottom of the fire ASAP to get it done, and make sure it's good for oil if it's an oil fire. Take some time to look at the one in your building to see if it's an ABC. The letters cover the type of fire, and how fast could you get to it in case of a fire. 2. How to use a defibrillator and CPR. CPR is super important, but also make sure you know how to use a defibrillator and where they are at work, your gym, or other places you frequently visit. Story 18. Basic fitness. You don't have to spend 3 HRs a day in a gym and look like it, but just a few times a week for some compound exercises and learning to scow, run, or walk a few miles every week will do enormous things for your health/mind/body. Once you have a routine for just a few hours worth of each every week, you'd be astonished what it'll do for you. Story 19. Speaking and writing coherently. So many people self-impose limitations and create barriers to their own success, professionally and personally, because they put zero effort into communicating with other people. At the same time, people with just a little of that ability are hired, promoted, given influence, trusted, and valued for nothing more than exceeding the average. Story 20. Being virtuous. Synonymously, being acutely aware and mindful of the present, past, and future, knowing when it's relevant to focus on things, and being able to consciously pause the conscious rhythm to do meditative leisure activities, like sketching loosely on a pad with a vague direction you want to take it, and focusing on the technique and form while keeping in mind what you're trying to draw, and what you're trying to achieve and how you might be able to achieve it, and learn from the physical mistakes, but use it as a tool to gaze off into the abstract. Why did you make a certain mark? Was it a happy accident? Or is there more you're trying to tell yourself? So basically, self-regulation. Story 21. There are so many great answers. Not up there with listening, learning to swim, or cooking perhaps, but after teaching those to our kids, we arranged public speaking lessons. It seems a bizarre suggestion, but everyone gets interviewed for something in life. Many people have to do a presentation. Some people have to testify. The skills behind how to do all those well are taught in a good public speaking education. Not, I would stress, elocution, but how to stand up and, on little or no notice, give an intelligent, reasoned, and coherent answer to a query. It's a learned and valuable skill. Story 22. Not sure if it's a skill, but self-awareness and empathy. Knowing yourself and being able to relate to other people is very important, and apparently not something everyone is just born with. I don't know if it's something you can learn after you've finished brain development, but I think at least trying to ask yourself why you believe what you believe and trying to view things from other people's perspectives will help you in a lot of situations. A lack of these two skills is what leads to most forms of bigotry and intolerance. Story 23. Problem solving. So many people are unable to try and find solutions to their problems. They just want to find someone to blame or have someone fix or for them. Being able to problem solve through trial and error or research is an invaluable skill. Story 24. There are a lot of good things here. What I would like to add, programming. Not so you can build your own app and stuff. You can do that if you like it. But just to understand the thinking when doing programming, and also to understand roughly how a program works. It can help in a lot of situations that are not even remotely connected to IT. Story 25. Cooking and driving for both men and women. By driving, I mean bicycle, bike, scooter, automatic, and manual drives. It helps save a lot of money and gives independence. We don't drive, and hence a lot of thought goes into route planning or getting lost. Cooking is something I didn't know that well. Nowadays, I am dabbling in it. I realize it's kinda important as it helps you, especially if you need a specific kind of diet to achieve your health goals. Story 26. Fixing basic computer issues, really. People often lost so much money to simple problems, or worse, to indie tech scammers. It's so easy, but so underrated. Basic knowledge like reinserting RAM or long press power button equals sign power off would fix most of the issues. Same applies to phones, factory reset, FRP bypass, etc. Story 27. Basic DIY skills. 90% of household jobs do not require a professional if you know the absolute basics and have 100 pounds worth of tools, which are multi-purpose tools, not specialized. Unless you're earning like pound 100K a year, you'll practically always save money if you do the basic stuff yourself. Also, with basic DIY competency, you can use it as a fallback skill if times get hard with your job. Just go self-employed and start doing odd jobs for people. Story 28. Here goes my list that's all over my mind right now. Stretching. Even if you don't exercise regularly, stretch every day. Your body will thank you when you're older. Compassion instead of anger. Accepting your family parents for who they are. Self-awareness, saying no. Grammar, thanks ChatGPT. Organizational skills, time management, public speaking, who cares what other people think. Small talk? Yes, this sounds ridiculous, but it will help make conversation with anybody easier. And you can get out of a conversation you don't want to participate in. Praying does not have to necessarily be religious, but some form of spirituality helps a ton. I've learned and picked up on this because I have older friends, 65 plus, and I am 29. Story 29. Critical thinking. Critically analyze what you've been told and be able to work out an approximate plausibility. So many conspiracy theories fall apart at the first bit of critical analysis. It doesn't mean you are always right, but by stopping and thinking about a statement or news, it can have far-reaching effects in your life. Story 30. Rhetoric. No, it's not about manipulating. Okay, a little, but mainly to not always be at a disadvantage in a negotiation. Understand the mechanism. Use it and don't fall into the traps, which are guaranteed to be used by the opponent if you don't see them. For pure survival, learn how to start a fire without any special tools. It is not that difficult, but can be decisive between life and death. Should really mention basic cooking, but honestly, heat are more important in an emergency. A healthy adult can survive for at least a week without food, provided they have access to fresh water. But cold can kill you much faster. Story 31. Swimming for sure. Knowing how to swim well saved my life twice. As a kid the first time and a teenager the second. I'm glad my parents put me in swim classes or else I wouldn't be here today. If I ever have kids, I'm definitely doing the same for them. I don't care if they don't enjoy it or don't want to do it. Learning to swim is essential, especially since I live in a country surrounded by water. Story 32. One underrated skill that everyone should learn is active listening. It involves not just hearing, but truly understanding and empathizing with what someone else is saying. Mastering active listening can enhance communication, strengthen relationships, and foster deeper connections with others. It involves techniques such as maintaining eye contact, paraphrasing to confirm understanding, and providing supportive responses. By honing this skill, individuals can improve their personal and professional lives significantly.